Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a podcast and videocast from www.univrm.com. Today is a current event news article titled Doublespeak, Hypocrisy and Propaganda, Chilling Facts, Part 3. This is Part 3 of 4 of current event news articles on this series. If you download potentially copyrighted software, videos, or music, your internet service provider has been watching, and they're coming for you. Specifically, they're coming from you on Thursday, July 12th. That's the date when the nation's largest ISPs will all voluntarily implement a new anti-piracy plan that will engage network operators in the largest digital spying scheme in history and see some users' bandwidth completely cut off until they sign an agreement saying they will not download copyrighted materials. Word of the start date has been largely kept secret since ISPs announced their plans last June. The deal was brokered by the Recording Industry Association of America and the Motion Picture Association of America and coordinated by the Obama administration. The same groups have weighed in heavily on controversial internet policies around the world, with similar facilitation by the Obama administration's State Department. The July 12th date was revealed by the RIAA's CEO and top lobbyist, Kerry Sherman, during a publishers' conference on Wednesday in New York, or according to the technology publication CNET. The content industries calls this scheme a graduated response plan, which will see Time Warner Cable, Cablevision, Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, and others spying on users' internet activities and watching for potential copyright infringement. Users who are caught infringing on a creator's protected work can then be interrupted with a notice that piracy is forbidden by law and carries penalties of up to $150,000 per infringement, requiring the user to click through saying they understand the consequences before bandwidth is restored, and they still could be subject to copyright infringement lawsuits. Participating ISPs have a range of options for dealing with customers who continue to pirate media at that point. They can require that an alleged repeat offender undergo an educational course before their service is restored. They can utilize multiple warnings, restrict access to only certain major websites like Google, Facebook, or a list of the top 200 sites going, reduce someone's bandwidth to practically nothing, and even share information on repeat offenders with competing ISPs, effectively creating a sort of internet blacklist, although publicly, none of the network operators have agreed to terminate a customer service. It is because of those reasons that the content industries believe this program achieves much more than what might have been possible in the realm of public policy, and the ISPs appear to agree. The voluntary scheme will be paid for mostly by the content industries, which will share some of the costs with the ISPs. Not everyone sees it as a positive. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, a digital rights advocacy group, argued that the graduated response scheme lacks transparency and that copyright holders could wield the network operators like a blunt instrument in cases where their claims may not be entirely valid, which is the biggest problem with statutes codified by the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. They also pressed for assurances that claim reviews will be conducted by a neutral party and suggested that users should be given some form of due process before their bandwidth is turned down or cut off entirely. The Electronic Frontier Foundation also took issue with the system of protest the program puts in place, which only gives users 6 predetermined defenses against a copyright claim. And even the 6 enumerated defenses are incomplete, they complained. For example, the public domain defense only applies if the work was created before 1923, even though works created after 1923 can enter the public domain in a variety of ways. A legislative effort that would have achieved some, but not all, of these ends was utterly destroyed by the Internet's first ever mass work stoppage late last year, which saw thousands of popular websites go dark in protest. It's not yet clear how much the tech world will react to the ISPs siding with the content industries to do what the government simply could not, One of them will require internet providers to log and save all of a customer's internet activity, including email, web browsing, downloads, internet messaging, social networking, and anything else for 6 months, and give these information to any authority asking for them, along with the customer's name, address, and phone number, list of all phone calls and credit cards, bank accounts, and other methods the customer used to pay for anything. Besides that, providers will launch a massive copyright spying scheme this July that could get you cut off from the web completely. According to a U.S. diplomatic cable given to a secret outlet, WikiLeaks, U.S. business interests played a role in the passage of a French law that created internet user blacklists, ostensibly to be used against people who access copyrighted content online. The creation and internet law, which became law in September 2009, was initially set back for months by the theatrics of 15 French socialist lawmakers. On April 2009, U.S. State Department communique details. Noting the vote was not very well attended, as most members assumed it would pass, the socialists hid in a broom closet near the entrance of the parliament. Since there were no members near the chamber entrance, that meant the vote was to proceed with them in absentia. But at the last moment, they emerged from the closet and charged into a parliament to cast a block of no votes, effectively killing the bill by a ballot of 21 to 15. The lawmakers hid in a closet to stifle the French internet law went unreported at the time. After reintroduction, the bill passed in September. The secret U.S. cable, described by U.S. business groups from the movies and music industries, as well as keenly interested in the bill's passage. Motion Picture Association of America President Robert Pisano told The Charge on March 20th that the graduated response law is very important to fight against online piracy and to the MPAA. The U.S. Embassy in Paris noted the Recording Industry of America has expressed similar sentiments. They added that the Business Software Alliance lobbied against a key safeguard in the French bill that would help protect internet users from spyware and other malicious software. The BSA is a collection of the biggest names in tech, from Apple to Cisco, Hewlett-Packard, Intel, IBM, Microsoft, and numerous others. The groups objected to a requirement that they provide French authorities with a source code for whatever software they've employed to foil copyright violators. The measure was devised after a 2005 scandal over a rootkit distributed by Sony on audio CDs that would install on users' computers and enabled usage monitoring. French lawmakers had no appetite for the BSA's proposal and let their amendment languish in committee. The law created an internet regulatory body modeled after the country's financial markets watchdog, empowering the HADOPI, which is a French acronym meaning the High Authority of Diffusion of the Art, Works, and Protection of the Rights on the Internet, to create user blacklists and impose penalties on internet service providers who allowed banned users to access data services. It also created a 3 strikes program wherein users could be disconnected for the internet for up to a year on their 3rd time getting caught violating copyrights. It also mandated that ISPs retain a year's worth of each user's online history made available to the government on demand. Users caught downloading copyrighted data first receive an email from their service provider warning against that activity. A second warning comes in the form of a mailed letter from HADOPI. Final enforcement is outright disconnection. The right of corporations and governments to disconnect users from the internet has also been discussed by the European Union amid debates on its telecom reforms, the U.S. cable noted. The United States, while it does not have a similar law governing internet access, has been cited in recent months as striving to bring its policies in line with China and Europe, using immigrations and customs enforcement to issue domain takedowns for sites they accuse of violating copyright laws. Private corporations were also seen as acting on the U.S. government's behalf in their censorship of WikiLeaks, with PayPal, Bank of America, MasterCard, Visa, and Amazon.com ending all business ties with the site after U.S. officials said they were investigating potential espionage or conspiracy charges against founder Julian Assange. The U.S. Federal Communications Commission is also considering important Internet regulations that critics say could fundamentally change how the Internet is managed, experienced, and paid for. The Commission's so-called net neutrality rules, due to be voted on later this week, could permit the creation of super tiers of prioritized traffic and allow bandwidth rationing, placing caps on the amount of information users can download and implementing coverage fees similar to voice minutes on mobile phone networks. The U.S. Senate expected to take up the debate on the Combating Online Infringement and Counterfeits Act, which would give authorities even more leeway to order websites taken off the Internet's central domain name registry. This rationale is used in historic periods of tyranny and current event news as mechanisms to control the population. Government, like a clumsy magician, hopes you look here and not there with verbal prestidigitation. In part 1 of this series of articles on current event news, please reread the letters sent to Iranian citizens criticizing their government for internet censorship from President Barack Obama. Propaganda is an effective tool used against any foe, whether that is another government or citizens of your own country. The chilling hypocrisy of this issue plainly exposed, and everyone should be worried. This is end of part 3 of 4. Copyright 2012, univrm.com, trademarked, all rights reserved. At univrm.com, we create original content with humor and satire on current event news, opinion articles, economy articles, science current events, and our science fiction book series titled Change Hope. As an advertisement, there is a donations accepted button on our website, www.univrm.com, and donations welcome to help us keep publishing in difficult economic times. As a second advertisement, please remember univrm.com offering our science fiction book series Change Hope, released as a series on a chapter and book-by-book basis like the old Amazing Stories magazine. Change Hope available in all ebook formats and as an audiobook you can purchase by going to www.univrm.com/downloads/. You can listen to this article via podcast on the iTunes Store by subscribing to univrm.com or read it on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at the UNIVRM channel. This has been a podcast and videocast brought to you by univrm.com, and we look forward to bringing you more in future.